Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin O'Connell and I'm based in Liverpool and this is my story. So as I said, I'm based in Liverpool. I was born here. I'm from a family of four, my mum, my dad and my brother. My family have all been from Liverpool. I'm really proud of my family. My grandparents are working class. My mum was the first in the family to go to a university. My mum and my dad, they work in sports and sports marketing and games and that kind of stuff. So very, very creative. My grandparents were very much, my granddad, one of them was a docker because I'm from Liverpool, we're near the sea. There's such a culture of just so many different people arriving from the sea and just staying, as you can tell by my last name, O'Connell, probably some Irish, definitely some Irish in there. But yeah, so one of my granddads was a docker, one of my granddads was a postman and a bus driver. My nan was a cleaner in a hospital, and then my other grandma did bits and bobs. She worked in a furniture and a blinds shop. But yeah, so that's what my family are into. I am the oldest child. I'm 20 now. I've got a little brother. He's 19. He's also quite international. He's in Hong Kong at the moment. He does economics and he's looking at working in real estate and sustainable real estate. But me, myself, I went to school in Liverpool. And then now I'm at the University of Cambridge. I'm at Newnham College, which is a women's only college in Cambridge. And I study history. So I'm really interested in gender histories and histories of religion and how religion, culture intersected, especially in the early modern period. So 1500s to 1700s, which is a while ago, but it's really interesting. I'm especially interested in, at the moment, I did a research project on gender-based violence in Ireland in 1641, and in particular stripping, forced stripping, and the sexual nature of that, sexual in terms of gendered, but also sexual violence, alongside like the robbery aspect of that and how religion intersected. So that's been very interesting and very heavy stuff, and you can see how 400 years later we're in a similar position, obviously different nuances, but still kind of like that. So I want to go into a career of policy. It's what I'm really passionate about, going into the public sector, because I think it's just really important, and it's kind of what I've been led to. My mum always says, like, it doesn't matter what you want to do, just try your best and you'll end up somewhere you love, and in a job that you love. So that's my motto, my mantra. But yeah, as I mentioned, my family initially, my mum is very much a feminist. She brought me up. She used to say, "We are women, we are stronger." She used to say that as well. So, yeah, very, very much in a family that's very supportive and drives for like social justice. So as I said, I'm a strong feminist, and that kind of stemmed from, well, naturally my upbringing, but also I went to a school. It was a grammar school in Liverpool. So people were it was a selective free state school, but I expected that to be, people were educated and people wanted to share brilliant ideas. But I went to school in a real culture of like radical misogyny. And it's recently come out that the assistant head teacher has currently been in a court tribunal because he had sexual relations with a sixth form student in 2010. He was rehired. 2 years later, he gave out an award that said, student that you're least likely to get into a taxi with, you'd least want to get in a taxi with, in reference to a sexual assault in a taxi. And this has come out that he, in the court documents and in the press, there was a real culture of toxic machismo, the court called it. So that he's just emblematic of kind of the culture that was there. It was definitely in my year, there were so many instances of sexual assault and just a real culture of misogyny. And when survivors called that out, the school not only passively like suppressed them, but also sometimes actively for the press and don't ruin the education, the university prospects and things like that. So I have a very real sense of justice, and the school that I went to, it had so many amazing things. Like, I struggled with my mental health. I have really bad emetophobia, which means a phobia of vomit. And the school helped me so much with that. And now I can go to Australia in a few weeks, which I'll mention. But it was really, the more I learn about and the more I advance in my kind of career in volunteering, I realised just how bad it was. And this is an epidemic across the UK and across the world, and it's only getting worse by like misogynistic influencers online, which is so amazing why you do this hair story, because it really does tackle that the internet has to be a place for radical misogyny to spread. So it doesn't have to be like that. There are influential and powerful people who can connect. It's not just about connecting based on hatred. So yeah, as I mentioned, from Liverpool, some of you might have seen some of you might have seen that a while ago. There were some riots in Liverpool, and based on, there was an attack in Southport of a boy, I think he was 17, he must be 18 now, murdered 3 little girls at a dance school. And this erupted in riots across the UK and in Liverpool. Liverpool is based on multiculturalism, as I said, and based on immigration. The reason that we are how we are is because of that. But a lot of grown men took this as an opportunity to riot to protect our girls, and it ended up just attacking mosques and other things, which it wasn't. Liverpool's not like that, and I'm so proud of my city. People banded and protected the mosques and protected against the riots. So yeah, that's a background of where I'm from. I'm so proud of my city. And yeah, so now I go to Cambridge. I just wanted to get involved in every opportunity that I could. So I'm the JCR Gender Equality Officer, which means that I deal with matters of gender equality at my college, which is Newnham College. And I'm also the president of the Feminist Society. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But
yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Erin. It's fascinating to see that nothing much has changed for women in terms of the feminist movement. It's a real disappointment. So how did your feminist awakening take shape? Did it start? Was it at Cambridge or way before that?
I think way before that. I don't think it was necessarily an awakening. I think it was just I was always brought up like that. I guess the awakening of the realities of when I realized the world didn't have the same views as me and my family is probably in school around that time when I saw how just comments and cultures built up because they weren't dealt with in the minor, in the minuscule. I didn't realize until too late. Well, not too late, but I didn't realize until it had advanced that that's the reality, and not everyone thinks the same way as me. That everyone deserves a basic equality, which is a simple thing to say, but
it's a human right.
yes.
So why do you believe that visual symbols are so powerful in activism?
Well, I am actually really interested in my history studies. I do a lot about how dress and fashion carries such significant weight. So the interdependent relationship between political activism and fashion and visual symbols. So I'll take this through a fashion lens for now. I've researched how 1920s fashion, what came first, the improvement in women's rights, or the development in women's dress and dressing more androgynous and like men. So where does feminism lie in that? And then also I used to work for Dr. Martens, and recently I did a project about Dr. Martens and their role, and analysing corporate roles in feminist and punk and grunge movements, and about the nature of corporate in that. So in terms of more general visual is a tangible manifestation of the intangible.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
why
I
it's
love
important.
that.
Yeah, it creates a sense of community. It's easily recognizable. If you know certain visual symbols and you see people wearing that or holding that, you know that they're your people.
So what challenges have you faced so far in bringing your message to traditional institutions like universities?
Yeah, well, we go into Cambridge and go into schools, you have to recognize that you are, by attending them, you are complicit in the institutional structures. So Cambridge is institutionally racist. It is institutionally ableist. It's due to the formation of it, its history. There are so many amazing widening participation programs, but it takes a while to undo and change institutions. So we have set up at Newnham, me and my friend, her name's India Nayak, she was the BAME officer. We set up a Dismantling White Feminism group to talk about our roles in institutionally misogynistic and institutionally racist structures. So for example, at Cambridge, and how we think about how we can use Black feminist theory to rationalize that. So like the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, to quote Audre Lorde. But if I want to, it's kind of the challenge of where does that lie? So do I want to participate in these structures to undo them and to challenge them and engage in the benefits and the positives and try and engage so many different people in that, versus do I recognize that in my role I'm complicit?
Yes.
So it's kind of that, it's the ethics, but I think, yeah, I'm still working on that.
Wow. Now, you and I met in a very unusual way. We were connected by one of my guests who was on the show a few days ago. Tell us about Becky's Button and how you got involved and what the story is behind it.
Yes, so I, as I mentioned, I'm the Gender Equality Officer, and as a part of that, I run an International Women's Day formal in March of this year. So I invited 3 Newnham alumni. I invited, firstly, Ashley Moffat. She's a professor of immunology at Cambridge, and she's been instrumental in rates of preeclampsia in Uganda. Secondly, Nicola Bowman, who is the founder of Persephone Books, the publishing house. And thirdly, Jane Young. She is a Newnham alumni. She's an author, and she is also the mother of, I'm sure she told this story, so definitely go check out that podcast, because this is just me paraphrasing, the mother of Rebecca Dykes, who was murdered and raped in 2017 in Lebanon. And she, as she will have said, changed her grief into action, and she created Becky's button. So we met. She did a speakers event for us. She talked about her role of international feminism, and then we had a formal. So I was sat near her, and we discussed. And we're from a similar part of the UK, which was nice. And then from then, I said, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And it turns out she was coming to Liverpool in a few weeks to partner with a charity and give out buttons. And we had lunch and just brainstormed, and it's really gone since then.
That's just incredible. Everything she's doing is so in line with what you stand for. So it's amazing that you two found each other.
I agree.
Can you share a story of how Becky's button impacted someone else?
Yeah, so I can tell the story of my friend, actually. So my friend Eve, she's also a Becky's Button ambassador. And I remember after the International Women's Day talk, she got really emotional and said to Jane, "I just want to help in any way." So that's in terms of the higher up kind of helping forge connections, but also in terms of helping people. They give out the buttons to people who can't afford them. So, for example, Jane was in a refugee camp. I think it was in Greece, but she's definitely been to some. I think it was in Greece, but it might be another country. And she gives out buttons to those who can't afford it. And she told me that someone had said to her, "I was walking home at night to my tent and to my place where I live, and there were men who were coming up to her, and she used the button, and Jane said it could have prevented something horrible from happening." So yeah, there's kind of the connecting, helping people connect, and then there's also the helping people materially through the button.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Now you are coming to my part of the world, and I'm really excited. I'll get to meet you in person while you come and live in Melbourne for a little bit. How are you building cross-country connections, particularly in Australia? What are you coming for?
So I am doing the Laidlaw Scholarship, which is a scholarship run by my university to create the next generation of ethical leaders and global citizens. So a part of that, I did a research project, which was on the Dr. Martens, as I mentioned. And now the second summer, you get to go anywhere in the world and address any one of the UN sustainability goals. So I'm addressing UN Sustainability Goal 5, gender equality, and 8, economic inequality. So I was brainstorming a load of different places, and I read somewhere that Melbourne was the NGO capital of the Oceania and the kind of that part of the world. I'd researched a load of different charities. So I'll be volunteering for Women's Legal, amazing charity.
Oh, yeah, that is just awesome. That is fantastic. I didn't know we were the capital for NGOs. That's not news for me. So in your work, what kind of change would you like to see at the policy level in higher education?
There needs to be structures set up to support and educate. They're the two strands. So for example, in the education route, I can talk about Becky's Button. They do gender-based violence workshops. So I can talk a lot about the UK context, and then for the support, I'll go to the Australian context. But they run gender-based violence workshops going into schools, and I think hearing from Jane and how inspiring she is, it can make students kind of take it seriously. And because a lot of the time it builds up, and they would never think of doing those things, but they don't realize that it's minuscule, or not even, but it's just cultures that build up and get to that point. Education, getting at them young. There's a big push on sex education, a push back on sex education in the UK, and about how we shouldn't have it for younger students. But in my experience, people needed it by 12, 13 to understand what they were doing. It was a small group of students by that time, but surely you'd rather get the smaller group of students so everyone was aware. And then in terms of support, at the University of Cambridge, a Freedom of Information request has shown that in the past, I think it was the past year, 0 students have been suspended for sexual assault.
Yes.
0.
And yet it's happening all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
0, which is crazy. You could say that, oh, that was 0 cases, but it wasn't.
It just wasn't reported.
Yeah.
No consequences for your actions.
Exactly.
So how do you take care of yourself while fighting such emotionally heavy issues?
Yeah, well, you definitely need to, because it's easy to get bogged down and think, oh my God, this is never going to change, but it can change. At Becky's Button, there's a designated welfare lead who you can talk to. But also I listen to Headspace quite a bit, and I listen to podcasts. I have previously struggled with anxiety due to different things, so I have already a lot of strategies built up, which I think has been useful because I haven't had to relearn anything to process. I've already kind of got those skills, how to process. There are different like tapping points that you can use that help to process things, and that helped in the past. And I think I just kind of reuse that. But talking is the main thing. Talking, getting it out there, and finding ways to still be hopeful and passionate.
That's so good. So how do you see your generation changing the feminist landscape?
I think it's a similar way to every successive generation. You've got to be different. If there's still aspects that you need to change, you can adapt the amazing policies and amazing initiatives by different waves, but you need to make them different. So our generation, there is a expansion of technology and innovation in that respect. We can see that by the new challenges, by misogynistic, the manosphere, which can infiltrate young boys, but as well some young girls are thinking that that's normal and that's the way that they should be. So there's that kind of supporting vulnerable people and identifying that technology is a real problem, but it's also an amazing tool. It means that I can meet people like you, and meet people like Jane, and we can get out there. So just utilizing technology, but recognizing the new threats that brings.
Wow, there's still so much work to be done.
Yes.
So what are some of the most misunderstood aspects of student activism today?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in terms of just we should be happy with the status quo. We should be happy with how things are. There's already been so much progress. Why do we need more? So I think it's a lack of realizing that although things have improved, that doesn't mean that they're so much better. So I think knowing that students aren't just kicking up a fuss over nothing. They're passionate and they want things to change. And coming to university in particular, I do a lot about why student activism happens at university, why universities are seen. That's why anti-intellectualism is on the rise, because you're introduced to new ideas and, most importantly, new ways of thinking. You're introduced to new people, and that makes you reevaluate things, and then that will naturally make you kind of be an activist and have things that you're passionate about due to this whole fusion of new people, new ideas, new ways of thinking.
So what role do storytelling and survivor narratives play in your activism?
Absolutely crucial. There is, you need to be careful about like claims to authenticity in terms of telling stories that aren't based on personal experiences, because then the people can get lost in this. You need to center and empower the individual, and survivor narratives are so vital. So I go to every year there's something called Reclaim the Night at Cambridge, which is what the Women's Student Union puts on, and just reading out survivors' stories, and survivors get up and they speak and they talk about their experiences, and you need to see the people in it. It's easy to get bogged down in kind of the negative structures and the cultures, but when you hear the stories of survivors,
it makes it so real.
It makes it so real, and it makes it so inspiring what they're doing and how they've got through it. It's absolutely crucial.
So how can people outside of university campuses support your cause?
I think just engaging critically with, for example, the news. So there are lots of things in Cambridge, specifically the UK news outlets talk a lot about it and talk a lot about the student protests. But you need to engage critically with it and think about why. And social media is brilliant as well. So the Feminist Society has an Instagram, but the things that we're fighting for is things that generations of feminists before us have also fought for. Total equality for all, intersectional equality for all. Feminism isn't just one strand, it's so many different things.
So many layers to it,
Yeah. So I guess engaging with that.
I love it. My last two questions are a bit of a thought experiment.
Sounds good.
In the first one, I'm going to teleport you to the past.
Yeah.
And we're going to meet the younger you, the young woman who started university, saw all of these injustices and felt, I need to do something.
Yeah.
Just in case there is a young student who's listening to this podcast, is in the same position, has no idea where to start. Based on what life has taught you up until this point, what 3 nuggets of wisdom could you share?
Number 1, meet like-minded people. You will be able to find them. University is such an amazing space where you'll meet so many different people from so many walks of life. So meet like-minded people. Number 2, reach out. I am no longer scared of sending emails or cold texting or cold calling or anything like that. Reach out to people. If you see a charity that you like the look of, reach out, see if you can volunteer, see if you can help. If you see an activist online, if you see an influencer that you're really inspired by, reach out, see if you can put on an event, see if you can do anything like that. And number 3, I guess, engage in the spaces, and if the spaces aren't there, make the spaces. If there isn't a society that you think fully addresses your idea of equality, make it, and people will support you.
I absolutely love that. Last question is futuristic.
Okay.
I'm going to teleport you into the future to go and meet the 90-year-old you. This wise woman who has led you up until this point. What legacy do you want to leave through your work and your writing? And when you finally meet her, what will you say to her?
That's such a big question, because my idea of what I want to do and leave is constantly changing with every new experience that I have. I want to be able to be proud of myself and for other people to be proud of me. So I think I can't fully answer what legacy I want to leave, apart from one of helping people, because it constantly changes when I get new experiences. In terms of what I'd say to her, probably just ask her for advice. You know, I have gained so much, I guess, wisdom. I'm only 20, but wisdom by experience. So I'd ask her, what do you want to say to me? What can I do? What have you learned?
Fantastic. The other reason why I like to ask that question is because a lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us. She is that quiet voice that tells you to stand up for injustice, go left, go right. advocate. And not everybody does this work. You realize it, right?
Yeah.
There's a handful of us who see injustices in our communities and we take a stand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I play with the energy of who I am becoming. I talk to the future me all the time. There are times when I get stuck and I can't figure out what the next step is.
Mm-hmm.
And I go into my meditation and prayers and I get really still and I tune into the energy of who I am becoming. I know
Mm-hmm.
she's there in the future. She's lived an incredible life. She's impacted thousands of lives and she's guiding me. So sometimes I go to sleep with a very simple question like, what is the next step?
Oh.
And I sleep on that. And then I wake up in the morning, I'm in the shower, and it's like a light bulb moment. I know exactly what my next step is to execute. Or I share with other people and I tell them what I'm working on. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle. One person will say this, the next person will say that. By the end of the week, all of these pieces have come together and I figured it out.
Yeah.
So thank you for trusting yourself and taking a stand. The world needs more people who don't just watch life passing by, but who jump in and make a difference and leave the planet a better place than we found it. Thank you. Thank you for your work. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. Today, you heard a story of a young activist who is doing amazing work in universities. She's supporting the nonprofit Becky's Button to make sure that women are safe. Just the simple thing of a button that you can ring when you get attacked can ward off your attackers. So please support her causes. She's coming here to Melbourne, which is why I wanted to share her with the community before she comes. So if anybody wants to get hold of Erin while she's here, reach out to her online, contact me. I'll be in touch with her as well. And let's make her stay in Melbourne, Australia, a memorable one. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Erin, safe travels. Call me when you get here. You've got my number.
Definitely. Can't wait.
Have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.